In this video, I'm going to be building every Spider-Man movie in LEGO, featuring daring rescues, epic battles, and some of the most iconic moments from the entire franchise. So let's jump right in with Spider-Man 1 from 2002. And the scene I'll be building is when the Green Goblin attacks a Unity Festival and Spider-Man has to stop him. So let's get started with the base of the building, where I can add some studs which allow for me to attach this balcony, and so no one falls off a railing. Alright, that's a great start, but before we move on, I noticed there should be some lamps up here, so I went ahead and threw these together, and they can then be placed down on both ends. With that done, we can move on to the second floor, making sure to add in plenty of windows and doors to get outside in the middle, and then the roof on top. And if we head back down, we can add Harry Osborn and Mary Jane enjoying the festival, along with some of the other guests, who are all in serious danger because if we build this hovering glider, which is controlled by the Green Goblin, he can use it to attack them. He's armed with these bombs that are quite effective. And I designed the building so if one lands over here, this section can break apart. Now MJ's in big trouble, and so she can be rescued. Let's add this balloon shaped like the Earth, which Spider-Man can use to swing into battle with the Green Goblin. And after defeating him, he can then go on and save MJ from falling down. That's quite a successful rescue, and that also means we've completed the first film, and I think this build does a really good job recreating the scene. The next villain won't be that easy to take down, since it's Doc Ock from Spider-Man 2, where he creates a fusion reactor that'll destroy the entire city if he's not stopped. So let's build that scene. First, we need to cover this area with hardwood flooring, but then there's also some water flowing in. But don't worry about that, since we can just move onto the walls, adding in these large pillars. In the middle is this frame for the window, and behind it we can fill it up with glass panes. Alright, that looks great. So now we can move on to the fusion reactor, starting with this circular base, and if we connect these sections together, it makes these control arms that can surround the entire machine. Right next to it are the controls that can be plugged into the reactor, which we can actually go ahead and turn on, setting off the fusion reactor in the center. Trying to turn it off is Spider-Man, but the controls are being blocked by Doc Ock, who actually managed to capture MJ earlier, so now it's up to Spider-Man to defeat him, turn off the machine before it's too late, and rescue Mary Jane again. So good luck with that, since the build is done and it looks good. But we'll be moving on to Spider-Man 3 from 2007, in which Peter Parker has to fight his best friend, a giant pile of sand, and a highly infectious disease called Venom, which he decides to do all at the same time at this construction site. So to build it, we'll need to start off with the frame of the skyscraper, where in between we can add in some incomplete sections of walls with rebar sticking out of the top. And so workers can get here, there will be a gravel path leading towards the entrance, where you'll find some construction equipment and the blueprints for the rest of the building. But let's continue, since in the movie the tower was quite tall, so let's add these orange support beams, which we can follow up by installing the floors. And then lastly, we can add in the 2 remaining stories, and we'll also have some pigeons up here enjoying the view. Alright, the building is now done. Well, the construction side is done. So it's time to move on to the battle, and this Spider-Man 3 set comes in clutch. It's a detailed display where you can add Sandman in the middle, Venom in the top right, who's getting webbed up by Spidey. Overall, this is a pretty cool set, but if we take it off the base and we add it into the build, it perfectly recreates the battle. And especially if we add Harry Osborn on his flying skateboard, and on the inside of the building we can place Venom, then surrounding him with these metal poles that Spider-Man can smack to defeat him. Great, the third Spider-Man movie is now done, and I think this build really rounds off the first trilogy nicely. That leads us to The Amazing Spider-Man, the 4th movie in the series, where Spider-Man has to battle a giant lizard before he transforms everybody into one. And for this build, I actually brought in my friend Firebird Bricks to help me build the scene when Spider-Man uses the cranes to swing across the city. So let's get started with the first building by getting all 4 wall segments into place, followed by the roof, which has 2 chimneys and an AC unit on it. This is also where you'll find Spider-Man, but so he can get across the city, we'll need to build the skyscrapers with the cranes on them. And since Caleb was here, we were able to throw up 2 massive buildings at the same time. And on top of them, we can go ahead and add in the crane, which we can copy over to the other side. And just like in the movie, both of them can spin around. So if we have Spider-Man whip them up, he can easily swing around the city. Now with 2 people, you can recreate the exact scene from the movie. Well, sort of. Anyways, this build is now done, so let's move on to The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And the scene we'll be building for this movie is when Spider-Man returns to the city to fight the Rhino. The first thing Caleb and I did was build a massive road where the battle will take place. But for extra safety, there is also a sidewalk, and behind them we decided to add in a park, which will have these street lamps on both sides. In the park itself, we added in a mixture of colorful trees and bushes, which actually ended up looking like quite a nice park. Next, we should build the actual battle. And since Caleb brought the Lego Rhino mech, we can go ahead and add that into the build. And he's on a crazy rampage, having already destroyed this car, attracting the attention of the police, who have set up a roadblock over on the other side of the street. In front is this kid who thinks he's Spider-Man, but he wouldn't stand a chance against the Rhino, so let's get the real Spider-Man in here, who's definitely better equipped to handle this situation. And with him added in, we've completed the 5th movie in the franchise, and I think this build really matches what we see on screen. The next Spider-Man movie I'll be building is Homecoming, during which Peter and his class go on a field trip to the Capitol, and after accidentally smuggling a bomb into the Washington Monument, he has to save everybody. And to build this scene, I'll start off with the paths that will surround the monument. On it, we can add in some benches on each side. The next thing I'll do is surround the entire area with colorful flowers, and with that looking nice, we can start on the monument. In real life, this thing is 555 feet tall, so I had to add plenty of floors. And to finish it off, I made this peak that can go right into place at the very top. Climbing up the side to save everybody is Spider-Man, and trying to stop him is a police helicopter. Down below are Ned and MJ, who have already made it safely outside. And that is the Washington Monument from Spider-Man Homecoming complete. And I think I managed to capture the shape of this thing really well. Spider-Man Far From Home is up next, in which Peter's school takes yet another trip, but this time to Europe, and he ends up having to battle Mysterio and his army of drones on the Tower Bridge in London, which is the exact scene I'll be building, beginning with the wooden floors, which will need to be followed up by the walls. And this panel piece is perfect, so we can go ahead and add 2 segments of them into place, and to cap off this end of the hallway, a door. Okay, now we've got the basics done, but I want this scene to be when Peter's spider sense kicks in, so I'll start by adding in a fade effect on the floor, followed by the wall that also continues to fade into black. The next thing we need to build is a roof, which will also cover the entire walkway that has the same effect on it to match the rest of the build. Now on the right side we can add Mysterio, who should be guarded by his drones, so I went ahead and built one that can go right here in front of him, and on the other end will be Spider-Man, who's about to take both of them out. Alright, this looks amazing. Even though it's a bit smaller, I think the spider sense effect really turned out great. The third movie in the MCU's Spider-Man franchise is No Way Home. This movie was awesome, since we got to see all 3 versions of Spider-Man on screen at the same time. So of course the final battle on the Statue of Liberty is the scene I'll be building, and this set will be a great start to recreating it.
Did I just get scammed?
These bags have been opened, and all the figs are gone too. And actually I just noticed there's tape on here, so someone must have closed it back up and then returned it to the store. This sucks, but at least I have the instructions and some parts, so let's just see how far I get. So I finished bag 1, and the base is 100% complete, but the glider is missing a ton of parts, since, well, these smaller bags have been emptied out. But let's just continue on and hope it's not too bad. But as you can see, I didn't get very far, and you'll notice the absence of the statue, since I only got a small fraction of the parts needed for it. So I think I'm going to use the parts and try to build something else. This is what I came up with. It's based on the battle after the statue crumbles, so if we add in Spider-Man, he can battle the Green Goblin. We can even give him his glider that I made for him in the first movie. I'll be the first to say it. This build isn't the greatest, but given I got completely scammed, this is the best I could come up with. But don't worry, since the rest of the builds in this video are some of my best yet. And if you've been enjoying the video so far, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Anyways, let's move on to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This is the time when Miles Morales actually becomes Spider-Man, and to stop the multiverse from collapsing, he teams up with other variants to stop it. And the scene I'll be building is when they all escape after stealing from Doc Ock. The first thing I need to do is cover this area with a bunch of snow, and poking out of the top will be several plants. And right behind this field, we can go ahead and slide this mountain into place. But this scene is meant to be a forest, so I went ahead and made a bunch of different types of trees, so let's get the first 2 into place, and then this one with the orange leaves. Then finally in the top corner a large pine tree, and to help fill up the rest of the forest there will also be a couple smaller trees as well. Now that the forest is done, we can add Spider-Gwen swinging up here. Down below is Miles, who's holding onto the stolen computer, and finally we can add Peter B. Parker. I really like the way these poses captured a dynamic movement from the movie, and I also like that we got out of the city and built a little bit of nature. Unsurprisingly, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is next, and the scene I'll be building is when Miles has to escape the Spider Society. And actually the first thing I want to start off with is this angled railing, so then I know where I can fill in the rest of the tiled floors. Up front, let's also go ahead and add in a bench, then a flower planter on each side. In the movie, the Spider Society has a bunch of floating walkways, so to make them I'll start off with the orange carpets, then the railings, and the last thing to add is one more bench and another plant. Alright, that looks like the one from the movie, so I went ahead and made another one. So now that we have those, we can get them into place floating above the platform we built earlier, meaning we're now ready to get all the Spider-Man variants into the build, like these two, along with Spider-Punk. Down below is Black Suit Spider-Man and the T-Rex version. Finally on the platform below we have the rest of the variants who are attempting to stop Miles Morales, who's facing off against Spider-Man 2099. Alright, the Spider Society is done, and I think this build manages to capture the vibe really well. It was also a great scene to use all the minifigures I got from the Spider-Verse CMF. At this point we've already built 10 movies from the franchise, but we can't forget about Spider-Man Brand New Day, and the scene I'll be making is when Spider-Man chases down this armored car that is trying to get away. To begin, we'll need a street that is covered with yellow lines, and I also threw in a couple of puddles, but we really should start on this white building. So first is the stone foundation that has a couple of cool pillars built in. On top of it we can start on the first floor, which has a ton of windows, and that also goes for the second, and then lastly we can add in the third and final floor. Alright, the main building is done, but but there's still space down here, so on the sidewalk there will be a hot dog cart, along with another food stand. And look at that, there's even a customer, who probably got here after using this yellow cab. This area is looking really good, but we are missing an important part of the scene, this armored truck, which comes in this brand new day set. Overall it's pretty good, and the truck itself is quite accurate and very robust, but it is missing some of the weapons we see in the movie. So let's go ahead and add in these two cannons, followed by this giant turret in the middle, and it can actually swivel around, making it the perfect counter to Spider-Man. So we should add it into the build, where it's actually already blowing up the side of the building, barely missing Spider-Man, who is swinging past the explosion as he attempts to stop the truck. And that marks a completion for the build from Brand New Day, and I like how I managed to capture the intense action in this scene. And that has been every single Spider-Man movie in LEGO. And if you enjoyed this video, check out my friend Firebird Brick's video where I helped him build a bunch of Spider-Man mechs to battle in a giant city. Also let me know in the comments down below which Spider-Man movie is your favorite, and thanks for watching.